And we are going live with the Lessons Learned podcast with myself and Chapelmon. You saw the little bit of window countdown. That, of course, was from my Dark Souls count game that I'm playing Monday through Friday, Mondays and evenings, when weather and time permits, at 8 o'clock Eastern in the morning and 8 o'clock p.m. in the evenings. So, welcome back for the people who were like, "Oh, you guys were not here last week." Well, yeah, that is very true. It happens. Uh, but we're back, and we have a few pieces of news. But before we do that, we're also going to be talking about, particularly, we're going to be talking about a particular piece of news about Take Two just going a little bit overboard, and what does that mean for the anti-spoiler, uh, tick that most mass media is on these days. We've seen it on film, other things, but it also seems to be affecting video games as well. But before we get to that, we've got some other pieces of news. Most of them rumors and innuendo and leaks. So we'll see how it goes. Let's start with one, which is Volition. Apparently, is working on a new Saints Row. For people who are fans of Saints Row, and I was a fan of Saints Row 3 and 4, it seems to be like a very good piece of news. However, it's just early news so far. And they talk about Dead Island 2 and Time Splitters. This is information that comes out of their new financial report, and also confirmed on Tumblr by Take not by Volition as well. I saw a post there. TH Nordics has slightly revealed a few more of the 81 games this apparently has in development. Wow, that's a lot of games. Last year, gobbled up. Oh well, of course, the reason why it has so many games is that they've been buying a lot of studios. Last year, gobbled up Koch Media, adding the likes of Saints Row and Dead Island to its increasingly massive catalog of games. A recent final actual report.
So,
That was my mic. Sorry about that.
so they're
So basically, they got back Saints Row of sorts because it used to be part of
it's
THQ.
Deep Silver.
Yeah, THQ Nordic controls Deep Silver. No, actually, it was the Deep Silver was a distributor, but Volition.
Yeah.
Volition was originally on the THQ. THQ went under. It went to Deep Silver, who was under Koch Media, and then Koch Media got gobbled up by THQ Nordic, which means that now Saints Row is back under THQ of sorts.
Wow, it's just confusing.
Yeah.
Wow. Just need a flow chart for who owns what now and which studio owns what.
The last Volition game under the umbrella of Saints Row was Agents of Mayhem, which was a tad disappointing. Yeah.
That was hey, look, it's sort of like Saints Rows, but let's make it a battle royale hero class thing or something. Just jumping on a trend. No.
Yeah. So
okay, so I don't know how I feel about this. So this first off, this new Saints Row thing, that's just we're working on it, but you mentioned another one too. That I'm like, then didn't they also say that about that franchise?
Dead Island.
Dead Islands, like wasn't there like another Dead Island like game supposedly they're working on?
Yeah, there was a Dead Island 2 working on that. According to the article, they've been on and off for years, switching developers and going silent for extended periods. There's a tweet I mentioned in the financial report. This time confirming that Homefront, the Revolution developer Dan Buster Studio, is leading development. Oh dear. That's not good. That's not good.
Homefront. So is Volition under THQ now then? Because it seems like they're still under Deep Silver, or does
but the Deep Silver is, according to this, is now under THQ Nordic because they were part of Koch Media. So you have this big conglomerates who soak up things and they get bought up as well, and
Yeah, all
it's
these weird umbrella like corporations and stuff. So it just gets a little confusing about like who owns what and which entities are technically the same entities. Wow. So
Mhm.
I feel like this is oh, okay. This is THQ being. I feel like they're kind of going back to the thing that maybe kind of made them get bankrupt the first time. Is like all these weird overproductions and whatnot of games.
Well, I think they tried a couple of things. They basically were, but THQ really were doing a lot of tie-in games, like for movies and television stuff like that, and that market dried up for them. And they also invented on several controllers, which at least they're not
Yeah.
behind the current controller that is supposed to be controlled by a woman's vagina. But I heard that on the last Jigquisition podcast. I'm like, that's interesting for people who have vaginas, of course. Um, for people who like to watch people who have vaginas, but we're not gonna judge you
Yeah.
here on the channel.
Um,
Uh, hey,
it was
but it
it
was
was
some kind
Time
of
Splitters.
controller, some kind of controller, and that it was like I think it's like a surfboard kind of controller thing, and that failed by the wayside. And they tried to do some other things, and it was just I think let me see because we do have a person that actually did um, a thorough investigation of that classic, the fall of THQ uh, by Super
Yes.
Bunny Hop.
Hmm.
Why THQ failed. And while we're not going to go to the entirety of the video, we can post a link here in the chat. You guys can.
So no, the other one that rung a bell was Time Splinter. So I know that's like a sort of like a classic favorite of a lot of fans.
Yeah, let me see what
But
I heard
but
about.
I've
I
heard,
never played it myself, so times.
yeah, I've only played like the second one, and that was it. It's amusing. It's if you've ever played like Perfect Dark or any of those like Nintendo 64 shooter
Hmm.
games, or it's very in that style. It has like an interesting like setup and characters and stuff of why like you play in different regions. Um, but I remember a while ago, maybe years ago, there was like a petition to try to get the first three Time Splinters released in like an HD remake or something. Get that released. I didn't realize that those rights seems to have kind of ended up where they ended up now. I think the original studio is defunct now.
Well,
Of
yeah.
Free Radical.
Here's from just the Google page. Time Splitters first release October 26, 2000. Latest release Time Splitter Future Perfect March 21, 2005. So it's been close to 10 years, more than 10 years.
Yeah, and
Uh,
Free Radical Design, who
and
made
developer was Crytek UK, with Crytek, you know, another
mm,
company that imploded. So yeah, it's one of those mid 2000 shooter, especially for consoles, PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox.
yeah,
Uh,
it was this was like back in that era where there was like so many different types of video games and stuff because it was I guess so easy to you had all this mid-market range of titles and now not like you don't have these anymore.
yeah,
Not in the same way anyways.
and
Like
publishers are Square Enix Europe, 2000 2002, so the original Time Splitter. Electronic Arts in 2005, and THQ Nordic GmbH is I think a German appellation or corporation,
mhm.
2018 and forward. So yeah, this is just going through the motions of different corporations buying and selling and doing and all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I honestly I wouldn't hold my breath for anything because like I replayed that HD remake of Legend of K
mhm.
a couple of years ago, and I made a review about that on my channel. The the ending credit says, "Hey, we'll be back soon with another Legend of K game." I'm like, who's gonna make a game for this, a sequel to this game? Like, which studios too? Because one of those studios is defunct. It's like that was years ago too. It's like nothing about any Legend of K game is emerged. So I honestly I wouldn't hold my breath if it, at least until you see something like a trailer, and even
Mhm.
then I'd be kind of dubious.
Yeah, I mean, this is an
I
early talk, you know, that they're
yeah,
working on it, but among 81 other titles. So,
yeah, like THQ, I kind of have like it's one of those that I don't have any faith in. Like
mhm.
not in kind of the same way as like some of these other larger publishers like EA or Activision or Take Two. But it's just like one of those that's like, oh boy, you guys are trying kind of, but I sort of know that I can't count on you guys to develop or to come up with like any actual product.
Or anything substantial that is worth playing. Like,
Yeah, that's the only thing that THQ that that's perked my interest is some game called Biomutant that's supposed to come out later this year. It's been coming out in year
mm,
for it's been sort of
vaporware,
like
yeah, yeah,
announced for
yeah.
years. Like you can buy the collector's edition like years and years ago. It's still listed on Amazon, but
Wow.
it's like I'm like I'm kind of curious, but I really don't want to pay $120 for this like new franchise, even though it's got like a weird, cute little
Mm.
I
Mascot,
don't know
right?
raccoon thingy that you there. It's depending on your stats, like the stats that you choose at the beginning, it changes
Mm,
their physical body structure. So if you choose more strength, they're buffer. If you choose more agility, they're more agile looking.
that's cute.
It is. So it's like, oh, it's got a cute animal, so it has my attention. Then I'm kind of like, ooh, THQ, I don't trust you.
Talking about buying games in different platforms, this is a kind of thing that popped up on PC Gamer. Steam ads played on another platform as a new way to ignore games in the store. New data will help the interactive recommender understand that you're interested even if you don't buy it.
Hmm.
So people who don't know about the things about how Steam works and all the algorithms, and we talked about 2 weeks ago about training algorithms. I think we mentioned that on the podcast. Now there's an option that says, "Oh yeah, I'm interested in this game, but I already own it," as opposed to
Hmm.
simply ignoring it. Because most of the time, what
Yeah.
you do is if you want to train the algorithm, is you wishlist stuff, right?
Yeah.
But and that has happened. I have a lot of wishlist games that I ended up buying GOG or from other places, and it's like, but it's still wishlist, and it's like I don't want to take it on wishlist because I want to see, if they're gonna updates or whatever, and that's way of telling the algorithm I like these games, right? Um, but besides the ones you already bought, so yeah, it's a little nice fixture. It says, quoting Valve's Alden Kroll says on Twitter, the plan is to feed the new played on other platform data into new recommendations engines. Most specifically, the new interactive recommended tool. This new feature is a way to signal Steam that a game is of interest to you, even though you don't want to buy or wishlist it. It
Hmm.
also might have to do with something with the Epic Store,
Hmm.
because there's something, just a thought that came into me. It's like maybe they want to track how many people are buying games that are listed in Steam, but because the way Epic Store does things, they can't buy them, in 6 months to a year. But people are
Yeah.
saying, "Oh, we already bought them,
Hmm.
and we're marking it here on Steam," rather than saying, "No, no, no, we're still gonna buy it," right?
Yeah. That's interesting actually. I kind of like that idea. That I kind of have to agree with that. I kind of might have thought that it might also be like sort of, let's track how many people buy the games that we offer on Steam elsewhere. Like
Mm-hmm.
not necessarily just on the Epic Store game, but like maybe GOG or
Yeah.
some publishers. I know like I bought a game once on before it was even on Steam. It got eventually got Steam greenlit and stuff and ended up on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
But I bought the game like directly from the person who made it.
Oh, well, yeah.
But I think they probably wouldn't really much care for about that kind of status. They're probably more concerned about it. So I'd be curious to see. It's like, oh, you can check mark this box. Oh, I actually already own this game, not on Steam, and then maybe it'll pop up like a questionnaire. Hey, tell us more about this. Like, where do you own this game?
Yeah, because it's not data that, for example, the publishers may care about much because they're already tracking those things. I mean, they know where the money's come from, right? If you're
Yeah,
if you're an indie developer or you're a big publishing company, you know how many units, how many keys really were sold through Steam or GOG or your own store or something else, right? And talking about keys, which is really what you buy in places like Steam, G2A responds to Unknown Worlds accusations, calling them slander. The keys are sold before G2A existed, it says. Again, G2A being G2A as a corporation. Early this week, Unknown World told key reseller G2A it owed the developer $300,000. It was after G2A said it would pay developers 10 times what they lost through chargebacks for keys purchased with Pinch credit cards. We talked about this about 2 weeks ago. It's an issue several developers have raised. Through G2A denies that it happens. They, boldly G2A say, "Oh, sure, we'll pay you 10 times whatever." It's like, okay, ponying up $300,000. A statement posted by G2A, and we're still quoting from the article on PC Gamer, refutes the Subnautica developer claims, making a bit of a show out of it. Out in the process, the gist of G2A's post is that Unknown Worlds losses to Track came from sales to Natural Selection 2 in 2013, a year before G2A existed. But we were just talking about keys that get activated, and those keys, right? Part of it is that they have a timestamp.
Yeah.
So they would know that those are keys that are from which game and when they were bought and from where, right? And then resold. So
so people are selling games that are keys that were generated long before G2A was even an idea.
That's what G2A is claiming.
In
order not to make good on their on the take that they were gonna pay 10 times, what you apparently lost through key chargeback, right? But now that someone's like, okay, fine, you owe me $300,000, like, well, yeah, I mean that happened before our time, and we're not responsible for your losses. So yeah, it's totally useless. The tone is usual for a statement for a video game marketplace to a developer, right down to the title of the post and accompanying header image. It's likely to inspire Unknown Worlds or others to work with G2A to combat fraud. One could argue that fraud is G2A's business. Some would argue, I have to say that for legal reasons, very strict for legal reasons. G2A proposed key blocking tool will only be created if 100 developers sign up. Shouldn't that just be part of your? Let me repeat that. G2A proposed key blocking tool of a platform that has been readily accused of, basically selling stolen keys time and time again, and promised publicly that they would pay 10 times the worth of, the losses to these, this fraudulent key reselling, right? It should have a proposed key blocking tool, right? Should be part of the business, right? Just to make sure that they cover their tracks, nothing else. Would only be created if 100 developers sign up, but it attracted fewer than 20. The deadline has now been extended, but only until the end of August. But if your response when somebody says you owe me $300,000 is to say that that's just, it says they said the keys were allegedly stolen and sold before March 8, 2013. 6 years ago, Charlie wrote, "We paid $30,000 to deal with credit card chargeback because of G2A. That's just slander, and we expect him to at least edit his post and not straight up apologize." So yeah, I mean, if it's slander, they would have sued already. You don't call out slander; you just get your lawyers to sue. And I just saw an article that, okay, from 8 Days. I just want to say this because this is just funny. From Lauren Morton 8 days ago, which was, since we didn't cover it last week, I guess we could just throw this in just for the shits and giggles. And this is the title of the article. Moving away from G2A because it's just too ridiculous. Unless you want to add something before we go to this next point.
No. I was just kind of falling down like a rabbit hole, like looking for news. Just like I just saw the title of this and it kind of sucked in. It's like Spider gives hopes, or Spider hopes Greedfall will fill the void left by BioWare. I'm like, oh wow.
Oh, yeah, I read about that. Yeah, there's been hints that they're gonna do some kind of single player games, BioWare style single player games.
Yeah, this is Spiders is one of those studios that I've been following for quite a while since I played of Orcs and Men. They kind of team up with another studio, Cyanide Studios. They also they're kind of like indie developers that publish with Focus Home Entertainment, which I've actually known about Greedfall for a couple of years now. It's just like it's one of those things that I've been keeping my eye on, just kind of passively. I'm like, oh, I've been seeing more and more of it, so it's finally about to get launched, and it's like, oh. Although, granted, I see that it's now posted on Amazon, and I'm kind of like, oh yeah, Focus Home Entertainment's doing that whole pre-order crap. It's like pre-order bonus, some extra weapons and stuff. And I also kind of saw that Metal Wolf Chaos finally came out apparently last week, because I see this review's been posted uh, on PlayStation Lifestyle as well. I was like, oh, that game finally came out. I've been waiting for it for like over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I'm gonna have to check check that out
Yeah,
maybe later.
I had a brief conversation with somebody in Facebook, you know, the old man's social media, and basically I said, yeah, I mean, if people automatically, oh, Mass Effect, it's like, yeah, you're gonna need a very specific team of people with the right skills and the right attitude to make a spiritual successor to Mass Effect, because of course I doubt very much Electronic Arts would just, you know, give their blessings to that, or their copyright for that matter. So yeah.
Hmm. I kind of thought about like, ooh, I wonder, maybe that's why we've, aside from like the Mass Effect not really having some sort of like dead kit or something for people to make their own content and add on. I've seen people make like cosmetic changes that you can mod the game slightly, but not like no one's ever made like sort of like an expansion or something for a Mass Effect game.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see fans are probably willing and able to do something like that, but the tools might not be out there.
Yeah, the modding tools for Mass Effect are very limited. I know at least one modder that most of what they do is mod the multiplayer, and they
Hmm.
go in and they data mine and they find lost maps and try to restore them and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And they have a stream where they do that. So yeah, I'm gonna look for the link to that as well later on. But it's rare, right? And of course, you know, the more you mod, the more, you know, the closer you actually get into the actual game, and you know, people get jittery. Like, or you go the Bethesda route. When I've been playing a lot of Fallout 4, and literally the creative club's like, oh, they when you start the game, there's an announcement for Creative Club with a dollar sign in front of creative,
Hmm.
like dollar sign Creative Club, blah blah blah. And I'm like, okay, that's where we at right now. So you know, paid mods, they're not even over there, which is past that point and no return, I guess. So moving on to another more different type of, well, based on mods, by the way. This is something I just stumbled on. It's a comment. I guess it's not an article; it's more of a commentary, and it's not safe for work link. Making penises in games, it's hard.
Ooh.
Modders and developers tell us that good, bad, and ugly of adding dongs to games. And it's basically it's a rundown. Starts with mods. Uh, uh, and mostly says two things. Basically, the first is that there are many mods out there for boobs, right? Because the assumption is that heterosexual male players like myself will like boobs. We do. So there's a lot of mods for that. And a lot of games that support rather ample breast sizes with jiggle physics and whatnot. But another aspects of the human anatomy, like penises, they don't get as much mod support, right?
Yeah.
And there is aside for games like Conan Exile and stuff like that, there's not a lot of,
The infamous penis slider.
yeah. And this is quoting the article. Even though we know designing aftermarket penises, that's not the word they use, it's a sure discrepancy there as a source of professional game development too. Only a few pioneering games had launched with their own packages packed in. This is pretty packed with puns, by the way, about penises. One that we got a particular amount of pleasure was on Conan Exile's Endowment Slider, which you mentioned. Uh, uh, for a period of time, every target in the game decided to stretch across the map. This is due to the clause physics bug, but it manifested every character in the game having a wang that stretched from Crush to the far horizon. It was curious developers following the stretchy thick road in order to figure out where the Wigwam members have buried themselves. As it turns out, they were on coordinates 000, and nobody found any treasure at the end of the journey. Shame, really. Okay. And it continues on about modding Skyrim, which has
Yeah.
a very active, not safe
Yes.
for work sex
I
space
so
modding
I
scene.
I still see a lot of people use like Source Filmmaker to make stuff. They rip models and whatnot, but Skyrim, even after all these years, what it's been 7 years now,
Mm-hmm.
it is still very active when it comes to making mods, making videos, making certain animations and whatnot. It is very active.
I think it's because it's flexibility. One of the things that keeps Skyrim alive, and I'm now playing Fallout 4, and it doesn't have the length and breadth
No.
of both, safe for work and non safe for work uh, mods. Because when you look at mods, you go to Nexus, you're gonna find them. They're gonna be there, right?
Yeah.
Unless you actually toggle or like, yeah, go, hey, I don't want to see anything that might include sensuality or sexuality, right? And there was one streamer who I won't mention, but I did watch them use basically a clothing mod for women in the game, where basically they were kind of tight and gigantic boobs with low V cuts. And like, dude, you're streaming. We're gonna go back to that point later on in the show, but it's like, oh, that's what he likes, right? I like, yeah, that's you keep that on your own safe game, your own character when you're playing yourself, and maybe not. I don't know. Maybe your followers like that as well. When I'm certainly I won't do that when I play Fallout, at least not on stream anyway,
Yeah.
because
I mean, like honestly, I would have played. I remember Fallout. There's people who are trying to mod Fallout, given it, given the since it's pretty much like the same creation engine as Bethesda always uses this. But I remember them having kind of trouble trying to remove those like default underwear and stuff, and it was kind of awkward at first. I don't think I've seen like too many of them other than like ripped models that have been modified like out of the game and stuff. I don't think it's
yeah.
been like reinstalled, but I could be wrong. I haven't checked out
Well,
the Fallout 4 adult mod scene myself.
yeah,
But
but they're not as
yeah,
many on both sides, and I think it's because even though it's a newer game, it's also harder to work with in some of the areas that you mentioned, and so it's like it's not really worth. Well, now people, and the thing about modding is that the more people know about a game, the more familiar they are. There's already people who already done it, so there's mods of mods of mods. Because one of the things that
yeah,
happens in modding scenes, people I know, is that people take other people's mods and repackage them, expand them. It's like, oh, this person did this. They added, I don't know, chainmail bikinis. Well, we're not gonna have chainmail, panties. We're gonna have chainmail, banana hammocks. We're gonna have chainmail, bats, stuff like I don't know, whatever it is that they want, right? Both lewd and not lewd, right? And Fallout hasn't gotten there yet. It's getting there, but not getting there. But it's a sign of one of the reasons why single player games are so wanted. Is like I can do this in my privacy in my own home. I don't share it with anybody. Nobody's gonna be seeing me Fallout 76 rocking a banana hammock, right?
yeah.
At least unless
Well,
Bethesda
I mean,
decides to
I
put it in the
honestly
game, right?
like the thing I enjoyed most doing in Fallout 40 or Fallout 4 was making like a man harem settlement, with just like everyone wearing the most like wearing no pants and wearing the most like scantily looking leather armor just kind of piled on them like on their on the default new models and like yeah that's safe. I mean, it's in the game.
And you're going with it today. You're
And
just working with the
honestly, like I also kind of I sometimes wonder if remove the whole like everyone's aiming towards that hetero market because it's the most common market. But is I wonder if like penises are kind of harder to model, like penis. physics
Physics.
are much harder than like the boo physics. Then of course you have to account for like making a penis like look good. Is it circumcised? Is it not circumcised? Then you got like the if it's uncircumcised, you got like the issues with like the skin folding in. Does it
Yeah,
can it
and
go erect or not? And it's like, oh no, it's an adult game now if it goes erect.
yeah, or the fact that you cannot. That's what happens with these games. Especially, let's be honest. What's happened with Skyrim is that it essentially has become one of the most popular true adult games out there
Hmm.
because of all the mods, and I'm not gonna list any of them. Although the link that I did, which is no safe for work, uh, uh, it's it's essentially turns Skyrim into an adult game,
Hmm.
right? And including sex, like animated sex and stuff. And that means that penis physics and it's all about modeling the bodies, right? You know, where most of the animations are for swinging swords and killing monsters, so tapping near somebody else. When you get into that level of intimacy, people are more aware of the little details, right? And again,
Yep.
modeling boobs that are just going to be just there, right, is one thing, but having modeling hands and positions and stuff like that—that's when it gets complicated, right? Uh, but again, I was saying that this is the kind of thing that makes games like this popular because it's a single player. You do that on your own time. You're not sharing with anybody else, right?
Yep.
Unless you want to play co-op and share with your online partner. Now that's a market that hasn't been
Yeah, I
explored.
remember. Did we cover this story? I remember seeing a video about the Skyrim Together mod, but
Hmm.
that was an entire fiasco, and but there was somebody working on trying to make a Skyrim a Skyrim multiplayer mod that I don't think pan out for its own reasons. That's a completely different story, but I guess that would have made that interesting.
I mean, and then also I think what this fear is that it might devolve into like what happened with Second Life. Eventually, it
Mm,
was all about sex.
yeah.
And selling stuff, right? People selling stuff to Second Life and sex, which is still there. In fact, I haven't seen the commercial since, but like in the beginning of the year, I saw a lot of commercials in a lot of places, banner commercials for Second Life, and essentially,
Hmm.
it was a woman, oh, CGI of course, uh, getting pregnant, being
Hmm.
pregnant. Like, oh, I guess you can have a family in Second Life, and now we have physics that can model pregnancy. I guess they also have physics for modeling how you get pregnant.
Yeah, that's how like, ooh, like
Yeah,
check out how I got here, boys.
kind of like that. So it was like
You can quite
it.
literally make your family wink.
Yeah, there's a lot of fetishes with that as well, which we're not gonna
Yeah.
go into because it's not the kind of program. But yeah, so we're gonna slide along the penis track into another area. We're gonna talk about Kotaku here has revisiting Ubisoft's problems with politics in video games. Talked about it many
Oh,
times before, and we're gonna talk it again. This is an interview, and I'm gonna just go through the home highlights, starting with the title. We know we're not taking it. We know we're not taking it far enough. A Ubisoft VP wrestles with politics in games. This is after the company basically said that, oh, we're not going to deal with politics, even though we created games that have very political themes. A couple of months ago, in meeting room at Oscars of Los Angeles Convention Center and E3 gaming show, Ubisoft's Tommy Francois described what he thought would be the ultimate video game. It will be a matrix where you get 1,000 lives, where you get 1,000 mistakes, and when in these 1,000 mistakes, you get all these different points of view and you get something out of it. I like where he's going with this, right? The sort of, you know, game as, the player agency, which is something Ubisoft kind of models a lot, especially in this picture of Far Cry 5 is. Uh, Francois is using this description to pitch a new game. In his Q&A in the conversation with me, he said, I tend to reframe the discussion around politics and video games, apparently taboo topic that most makers of big budget games avoid. He wanted to engage. I don't see where we're being challenged. I don't see that we're being challenged on politics, he told me. It hurts me because we know that there's a disconnect between what we want to take games years down the line, what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. Mending the disconnect is a goal. He said maybe this, maybe it's Ubisoft. It's hard to say. But Ron told me the position and influence of the company. He's the vice president of editorial, the Paris-based team at Ubisoft that oversees, advises, and budgets all the company's games. The budgeting part is very important. He works with the makers of Assassin's Creed, the Ghost Recons, and the Divisions. The more and more. It's a rare interview that he at least opened up discussion about political ideas in Ubisoft games more than anyone in the company before him. One of the I was annoyed that the fact that we were not given more forgiveness for not being perfect. He said in one point reacting to criticism of the politics company games. We know that. We know we do the scope. We know that we're not taking it far enough. I mean, the idea of forgiveness, probably gonna tap into that idea. It's like, oh, we have to be forgiven. Like, well, no, you're being criticized, and to learn from your criticism. It's gonna be harsh, and others not so much, right? Francois Havard is proposing a different way of thinking about the politics of games to explain to me all things. He started talking about voting and about his kids. First time I voted, I think I was a stupid voter, he said, because I voted out of ideology, education, and what I thought I knew. Legacy of my family. I was puzzled. To my ears, those sounded like good sources of information. Video games, he argued, could function like simulations to make people smarter voters. He mentions his sons, Nemo and Owen. I like to think that because Nemo and Owen will be being simulations, they will get to iterate their vote and understand the impact of it in a fun way that makes them more aware. The goal here is not to be preachy. Yeah, that's slipping into talking about Ubisoft game making goals is to showcase. And that kind of sounds like we're not going to tell you what to believe, and our games don't really have a political point, but rather we're going to showcase things and let you decide what the definition is, which is a little bit of a death of the author kind of point. But to be honest, you're still making political decisions because you're deciding not only what you're showcasing, but how you're showcasing, right? How you're showing it.
Yeah,
that's a political decision right there. And he continues on in the article. I think the article, the interview is pretty long. And on and on and on. So yeah, that's the thing. I'm gonna probably revisit the article in the future. Here's the link. It's a fascinating read, as far as the insight of what someone in the company, but also be advised that it's probably being vetted at some level by the company as well, right? To something less political and something that we also talked about a lot about, and it's retro gaming. The Genesis Mini makes up for years of crappy Sega clones. The new Genesis Mini has come out, and he's getting some rave reviews. And this one is from Otaku. It will be releasing on September 19th for $80. Genesis Mini is it's a first-party Sega product, not a licensed offshoot like all the rest. I want to release for a few days now, and it's excellent so far. The software is done by M2, a group of emulation experts obsessed with quality and accuracy. Devices 42 games are selecting some of the best games that Sega 6-bit console had to offer. Oh, I like the price point. It's at least $20 cheaper than Sony did for their console. Sega has been hit before because they've done mini consoles before and end up being great. Let's see some of the games here. Space Harrier 2, which I like the Space Harrier series. Alex Kidd, Altered Beast, which came out with the original Genesis on the US. A lot of people don't like it, but I actually loved it because I also played the arcade game. It was good. Golden Axe, but the original Golden Axe, not Golden Axe, the second part. Wonder Boy, Sonic the Hedgehog, Castle of Illusions, and yeah, this seems to be like a good setup of games, right? Classic. Also from the Mega Drive as well. What else we got here? It's a Japanese version of Golden Axe. Columns, I remember that game. And I think you can also switch from different versions. Okay, let me see. You can also pop in setting menu and change the system's language, which is more interesting than you might think. Change it to Japanese, and the whole menu changes to Japanese Mega Drive. The box art switched to the Japanese versions, and even the game versions change. Which to European languages, you get the same thing. The PAL region Mega Drive aesthetic and European versions of the game. While most games only have minor differences between the regions, that isn't always the case. Play the Japanese version of Contra Hardcore and you get a 3-bar life meter and unlimited continues. Unlike the US version, one hit kills and unlimited retries. Huh. So not only does it have the games, it also has the ones that are with slightly or even interesting changes from region to region. For a first time collector, somebody like me who didn't own the original Genesis,
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty good deal.
It's just funny because I just got like my hands on like a Sega Genesis because that's feeling
Original.
nostalgic.
Oh, nice.
But I don't know. It's like I might pick that up just for nostalgic sakes.
Mhm.
Although I still prefer like original retro hardware.
Yeah, this one doesn't take any. It's hardwired in the system, and it doesn't take any cartridges, and it has a slot for them, but it doesn't
Mhm.
have the input. Um, it doesn't seem to support any Sega CD games so far, which was a huge library thing that happened back in the day. Add-on. So there's that. Oh, I did see a review of a remake of that add-on for a newer version for older machines. But I had to find the article for that. Changing again too. No, another thing. Why players are mad about Fortnite selling a dog. This is
Hmm.
microtransactions. Essentially, this article boils down to there was a limited version for of a dog earlier this year for 1,000 V-Bucks. That ended, of course, his run to make it rare.
Yeah.
And now they're releasing another dog that it's slightly the same thing. And basically, the dog just runs around in your backpack and barks, I guess. Uh, and here's a quote. Eurogamer pointed out Epic faced similar backlash unit with a summer drift skin at 1,500 V-Bucks. Just now, the drift skin available in Season 5 Battle Pass. At the time, fans took issue with Epic selling that what felt like sales for a Battle Pass only skin in the item shop with a company that previously said would never happen. The in-game FAQ of the Battle Pass called the items exclusive in-game rewards that will not be obtained again. So I think this would really highlight sort of the manipulation of microtransactions. Like, oh, this is for a limited time offer in a virtual space. Get it while it's hot. And it's like, well, we just repackage the whole thing and just change the shading. We still get the same dog, right? We didn't give
Yeah.
you you had a corgi and now you're gonna not even a German Shepherd afterwards. It's just, you know.
It's one of those like, oh, gotta buy it now.
Mm-hmm.
It,
And it's just silly. Well, silly and an exploitative. Give me your money for stuff that has really no actual value.
oh my
Kind
god,
of
do
way.
it now.
We talked about, I think, the last. Actually, yeah, we did manage to talk about this 2 weeks ago. The Ninja, um, Island Ninja Blevins, used to be the biggest streamer on Twitch, and now he moved over to the Mixer, the platform owned by Microsoft. But in his absence, his channel is still going. And part of the thing that was shown on his channel was promoting other big names, right, based on views on his channel, and that included apparently a porn stream, something that it's clearly and unequivocally against the terms of service of Twitch. But apparently, it was there long enough for not only a lot of people to notice, but also Ninja himself, Mr. Blevins, to notice. Early this month, Blevins announced he was leaving Twitch for another streaming platform, Microsoft-owned Mixer, where he quickly gained 1 million subscribers within 5 days. In his video, Blevins said the transition went incredibly smooth, super professional, but noticed the last couple of days that there had been some things going on that, we let slide. The kind of annoying little jabs we felt like, but it didn't matter, we wanted to stay professional. The chose to remove Blevins' verification checkmark no longer after his Mixer exclusivity announcement, which makes sense because he's he made a big deal about leaving the platform. So, and here's the rub of the article. Twitch began promoting other channels to the former profile page last week, one of which appears to have been streaming pornography, which was captured in screenshots by users on Twitter today. Blevins says the channel streaming porn had been bumped to the #1 spot and apologized to users who might have seen it. At the time of this writing, the profile page doesn't display other channels. But Twitch basically said that it was going to be temporary. Twitch CEO Emmett Shear apologized to Blevins for the incident and explained that they had been experimenting with showing recommended content across Twitch, including streamers pages that are offline. And they suspended the recommendations while we investigate how the content came to be promoted. He also says the channel has streamed pornography has been permanently suspended.
Oh, that should be sort of a given.
Yeah. But there we are. And it just seems like I mean, I don't know about the porn specifically, but I do feel that using his former channel, right?
Yeah.
To like, oh, a lot of people still probably just getting notifications because people don't turn off notifications, from this channel. So now they're getting notifications from other channels through Ninja. But the fact that he got 1 million subscribers to bring over to Mixer, that's a significant number, and one that I think is very interesting to note, especially that we're streaming on Twitch. Part of the news. And finally, we get to the meat of our podcast today. Take-Two sends investigators to YouTuber's house to crack down on Borderlands 3 leaks. This comes from Kotaku, AU, Australia. After 2 weeks of no uploads, a notable Borderlands personality on YouTube returned to the platform yesterday with a video explaining his absence. He said that the game's publisher Take-Two Interactive hit the channel with several copyright strikes, which is something we've seen before, and sent investigators to his home to respond in response to months of Borderlands coverage on his channel, which included leaks about upcoming games in the series. Quoting Mr. Matt Submato Summers, since I had time to reflect on the situation, I said excitement got the better of my judgment. Been posting Borderlands videos on YouTube since 2015 is a bit of a shitty thing to do. Now, this is not the first time that Take-Two has quote unquote gone after media. About last year they went after a UK publication for doing basically reporting on leaks about Take-Two Interactive. And sir, I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Now the claim from the company, and this is what the Take-Two subsidiary claimed: the actions were taken as a result of a 10-month investigation and a history of this creator profiting from breaking our policies, leaking confidential information about our product, and infringing our copyrights. A 2K Games rep said in a statement. Not only were many of these actions illegal, but they were negatively impacting the experience of the other content creators and our fans in anticipation for the game. However, the company did not specify what it said Summers did that they think broke the law. Because that's one of the things, like, the agreement they did last year with the publication was basically paid money to charity as a sort of recompense kind of thing going on. Which they're sort of using charity to cover your back.
Yeah,
It's a thing that's also pretty scummy.
Wasn't also the thing with that was that like, oh, we were already paid by another publication to break the story, so they were supposed to break the story, but then someone else did their journalistic investigation and ended up breaking the story before because they did actual.
No, it wasn't that one. That was even before that, and that was Randy Pitchford, not so friend to the channel, who has complained a couple of times, and he is not president of Take-Two, but he is the president of the company of Gearbox, which creates and promotes Borderlands. And Borderlands is the big game that's coming out right now. In fact, now people are showing previews of it right now, right? And this is something we talked about before about whether or not media should be keeping the secrets of the corporations, right? Is their job, and it isn't. But this, and I think this might be part of a larger trend, in the sense that we're now seeing some media, Kotaku among them, actually doing in-depth investigations of the video game companies, right? Showing the fact that labor practices are all over the place and most of them are very negative, showing and talking about the impact of microtransactions in some places, etc. And I think now some people in the industry, especially Take-Two, but maybe others, are being more aggressive about how they deal with media, because the thinking of media is, and we talked about that a little bit before, is that, oh no, media is there to be our our cheerleaders, right? They're
Hmm.
fans of our games, and therefore they have to um, and stuff like that. So it's like
No.
no.
And although to be clear, with the in particular this story with like this one guy is he may actually not be 100% innocent.
Mhm.
The biggest thing people were kind of thinking that he got in trouble for, which I would agree is not worth getting in trouble for, was that he in one of the previews of the Borderlands trailer thing, I guess that like there's integration with Twitch or something
Mhm.
in Borderlands 3. There was a username for this generic, this weird random letter assortments of letters number as a username. Well, people went and saw that this is an actual account that you could go to, and that it's watching other accounts, presumably accounts that are test accounts for Gearbox, to test like this integration. So people started watching, following these accounts. The accounts did have private streams. You would get notifications to them, but they're private, so you couldn't see them. But you can see the thumbnail that it generates, as because that's the way Twitch works. And people were downloading these thumbnails, the thumbnails as, hey, look, there's stuff. Let's see what we can glean from this tiny snippet of like this private stream that we have. You would think this is basic journalism because it's easy. A lot of people thought this might have been the issue, but I guess the bigger thing was because he got his Discord account suspended, was that he was somehow maybe getting exclusive information either from somebody on the inside, and he was selling it through Patreon as part of his Patreon tier bonuses in order to access like his private
Well,
server.
yeah. Now that I think is where it certainly is unethical for people who want to
Yeah,
bring the specter of.
because a lot of people would probably, I can see some people not wanting to, like, being afraid and not standing up against a big corporation, but he seemed really easy to just fold over and be like, yeah, I was in the wrong, guys, and not like stand up and fight if he wasn't in the wrong, if he wasn't doing anything.
Well, I mean, the thing. Okay,
Kind of.
let's look at the allegations right now. That Take Two the one that I'm focused on. Take Two Interactive sent investigators to
Yeah,
his house, and
that
Take
is
Two hasn't
creepy.
countered that they haven't said that that's not true, right?
Yeah, actually no, they did say that that is actually true.
Yeah. Raphael 12, thank you for the follow. Um, and that to me, I mean, when that's the thing. It's like if Take Two Interactive believes that there was criminal
Hmm.
activity, they would have
Yeah.
gone to the local police, or in the case if we're talking about international law, whatever, they've gone to the FBI or whatever, um, New Scotland Yard and Metropolitan Police in Britain, etc. Actually, the building's called New Scotland Yard, but it's called the Metropolitan Police in London or the equivalent. And if they believe there was a civil situation, they would have gone to the courts, right?
Yep.
But
They
when you
would have
send
served him.
private investigators to talk directly to the person that you believe is, because one thing is to investigate around that person, like, oh, do you know this person and all that. You can do that. It's a private eye kind of stuff. But the moment you send them directly against the person you might be suing and or leveling charges, it's not illegal, but to me it smacks of intimidation. I
Yes.
mean, I can almost imagine these two investigators, at least two or more, right, knocking at the door or whatever, catching him when he was in his front yard, whatever. It's like, Mister So and So, we need to talk to you about this, and then he's one of his legal rights to say, no, I don't have to talk to you about it all. You have a warrant, you're not police, talked about it, but he did talk to them and said, well, this is what I'm doing, right? Because he felt he didn't have anything to hide. He was in the right, but probably he was shook enough about the situation. It's like, yikes, interesting. And then we also have the fact that they sued, and when they sued under British law, one of the things they did is they kept the records sealed, so we
Hmm.
don't really know, what was in it to be able to judge. So they already have at least two situations where they're willing to lean on intimidating people in order to not get, these leaks apparently.
Yeah. And I have some issues with the statement. First off, he broke our policies. Like, well, at any time did he agree to your policies? So
Mm.
here, as like some random YouTube content, you know, creator, like, do I need like uh permission from BioWare to make my videos? Like, oh, did I break some of their policies or end user agreements that aren't enforceable at all?
Yeah.
Like,
Poor boilerplate. Yeah.
what policies did he break in terms of he's not an employee, and unless, like, he signed some contract, like, did you at one time, like, give him, like, exclusive stuff or something from your PR department? Like, "Oh, yeah, look, you're making videos to promote our game. Here's some stuff, as long as you agree to, XYZ."
Yeah.
But it's like, and then it's the whole legal thing, and of course it comes to the other thing too, is like, oh, he's affecting other content creators, and like affecting like the I guess the enjoyment of from like his fans. Is that what the statement said? It's like, what?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
what responsibility does he have for that? It's like, if anything, people like these like, ooh, exclusive like leaks, and maybe like all these just speculation of like, oh, what could be the next Borderlands? Like, oh, do you think it's gonna continue off this storyline, or what do you think will happen? Who are gonna be the new characters and stuff? But I guess like the some of the issues were like, oh, he's incredibly accurate with his speculation, so it must be a leak.
Yeah. And I think there's two things. First of all, there is a general aspect of how much money is spent on promoting these products.
Mm-hmm.
So we've seen, for example, that, oh, people have companies have denied leaks, and then the next day or a couple hours later, it's like, no, yeah, this is where the game is out, and you should be able to whatever play it, and it's like, yeah, but so an hour delay or a day delay,
Yeah.
and because it's
There's been times where someone some publications like, oh, this game is coming out, this developer's been working on it for years, and they're gonna announce it, and they're like, no, that's not true. And then a week later they're like, oh yeah, we're glad to announce this game. Like, you guys are fucking, and then they even attack like the publication. You are fucking liars. How dare you like report this fake news and stuff? And then it's like a week later, oh yeah, we're releasing this game now.
yeah, I think it's all about control, right? On two levels.
Yes.
First of all is, and there's a specific monetary thing I want to get to in a moment, but the first one is like, Watermelon Seed 565. Thank you for the follow. Getting a lot of follows today. One of the things is, oh, hey, we spent so much money on advertising, and then somebody just starts talking about this, and so we lose control of the advertising cycle, right? That feels like that money's wasted, to the point where I know that some games, their advertising budget is 2 or 3 times the total budget to make the game. So just give you throwing numbers out there, and these are lowball numbers. Say it costs $50 million to make a game. Probably now it's about 75 to 85 million dollars, but say 50 million, big round number. And you spend on a one-on-one basis, that means that you spend $100,000 to get that game out of the door, because 50 million more is spent on advertising. You spend on a 2-to-1 basis, for every dollar you spend on making the game, you spend $2 promoting it. That's 150 million, right? $100 million, quote unquote, down the drain because some kid in the YouTube channel got exclusive. It's really not down the drain, because if you're smart, you can actually use that to your advantage. But it feels like you were, quote unquote, robbed, right? You were robbed of having control of the cycle itself, right? But there's a very specific thing that we didn't talk about this last week because we didn't have a podcast, but it was noted on the Jinquisition podcast, how some companies, when they release now previews of games to the press, they are not including microtransactions in those games. So what happens is that the original, or they sell them, right, the original release doesn't have microtransactions. So nobody can talk about those microtransactions because they don't see them, right? And when rating boards like PEGI system in the UK, which will say, yeah, this game has in-game purchases. Well, when it got released, it doesn't have the sticker and the physical copy. It doesn't say on the website. It's on PEGI. It doesn't show on anything, because When it came out, it had no microtransactions. But guess what? A couple of days later, a week later, a month later, bam, microtransactions. Imagine if you're able to data mine a game weeks or months in advance, and one of the first things you find is that yes, the game is at least enabled to have one or more currencies, right?
Yeah.
And the possibilities of the schemes that they're building, because microtransactions have to be built into the game. They're not just patched in, or when the patch, what it does is actually activated, right? Just that it doesn't reflect on the UI. You're not getting announcements about it. It's just like it's there. It has to be there because in order for microtransactions to be effective, they have to be integrated into the game to entice people to actually pay money for it, right? The skins have to be working, the currencies have to be working in a timely manner, the announcements for it have to be timely, the way the time in the game happens, that encourages you to buy a skin or whatever, or an XP booster or whatever, right? That has to be thing that works. And if it doesn't, then, so if somebody data mines and finds it or gets a leak, oops, microtransactions. And I think this might be a thing where people actually are turning against them, right? Not simply criticizing bits and pieces that we talk about Fortnite, but generally people are like, we're tired of this. We're tired of loot boxes. We're tired of every game having microtransactions, and maybe, especially companies like Take-Two Interactive, would make billions of dollars just on microtransactions. They're going like, we might want to do something about it because we already have countries that are banning this stuff. We don't want this to leak out. We don't want a leak, say, somebody's running an investigation in France or Italy or in Senegal or Canada, whatever, and 3 months before the game comes out, microtransactions, and the authorities investigate and it has them. It's like, oh, okay, we don't like that. Maybe you should announce it, or worse than that, we don't want them in your video game because they're gambling or whatever reason they use. All of a sudden, your new game, which you were betting was going to make $1 billion on microtransactions, just won't, because, whoops.
And now, of course, this gets into the whole thing. It's like, how far are game developers just willing to take, just avoid spoilers, and not necessarily, as you were mentioning, just like story spoilers. It's just like everything, just to keep control of their game, because we've seen the companies threaten like DMCA like takedowns of streamers and stuff. It's like, I think most famously was the Persona 5, which is like, oh, you better not like stream past this chapter or else, because we don't want you spoiling our stories. Or even to some, when it comes to like script leaks, like months in advance. I don't know if it's true. It was once rumored that like the Mass Effect 3 ending was like had a script leak, and then they maybe might have changed it afterwards.
Well, the game got leaked. The game got leaked on October, months before. Here's what happened with Mass Effect 3. People don't remember there was a massive leak of the game on an earlier version, I think an alpha version of the game for PC in October. People are like, oh no, we're not going to play that because we don't want to get spoiled, right? And the game got delayed, and then we got Mass Effect 3 on March. And I think one of the things that was leaked in the original was the fact that it had a different ending, or at least hinted at a different ending. I haven't played. I don't know if you can actually find the leak anymore. So probably some pirate site somewhere has it.
And I know that there was something leaked once about like the original ending being about dark matter,
and that kind of.
And it's like, yeah, did they people change it? It's almost reminiscent of that one comic, like long-standing comic book series. I think it was called Crisis or something from I think it was Marvel, where back in the day that there's going to be this ending, and it's like somebody was going to be a villain, and then I guess it got leaked, so they changed it really fast, and it didn't make any sense as to who was the ultimate villain.
Yeah, I mean, one hand, the movie industry's been dealing with a long time, and you have a lot of things, NDAs and stuff within the business itself, right? Okay, you guys shouldn't be talking about it. We don't want any leaks because it might spoil things, and we have our advertising, and people might get the wrong idea about the game. That's a thing, right? It's like there's a leak, and that might give a situation where it can actually be harmful in the sense of like, oh, I thought this game was about this, but I saw this image, and I don't have no context for this image, or now I'm going to think this game is about this. And that I can see that being a bit harmful, not extremely harmful, right? Because for most people, especially people who are dedicated fans, either they'll watch all the leaks and still play the game anyway because they're so excited for it, or they're like, nope, I don't want to be spoiled. No, no, I'm not gonna see it. No, no, no. Right? They're gonna go like that way, and they're not gonna be affected. And even when you get a ton of spoilers without actually playing the game, you have no context for it. Like I got the entirety of Endgame spoiled for me. I knew how it ended, literally what the Endgame was, but I finally saw it and it was like I still enjoyed it because one of the things is that a lot of those scenes didn't have context for me because I didn't watch the movie. Once I watched it, it was like, oh, this is still a pretty good movie. Maybe there were a couple of things that I might have been surprised, like, wow, that's great, and we're like, oh, that's okay, but it didn't ruin it for me. Again, ultimately, I think it's all about controls. Like we need to get control and got money, and this is expensive and risky, and if we lose control, then no, like yeah, I get it, but and I think it shows a trend in the media that the media, so more or less, is also pulling away from being just stenographers for the companies to a degree. I'm not saying a lot, but we are getting more and more leaks from the industry, like I said before, about working conditions and the like, that contradict the official line. And I think that's also probably making people nervous as well. Because you might have a leak and with it might be a note saying, oh, by the way, help me. I'm locking a basement chained to my computer, and getting paid $2.50 for, an hour for this. And it's like, ooh, I guess I got to put this news out there. And that might be a tad bad for the company. Just saying.
Yeah.
So that was our program for this week. Thank you everybody who did the following. I think we broke 100 follows. Let me see.
Let's see.
Yes, we are officially at 100 followers. So I guess we can remove this banner anymore. We are officially 100 followers to the channel. Following the channel is one of the many ways you can support the channel. There are many others, including but not limited to following, subbing, dropping bits, coming by and joining the chat so we have a wonderful discussion with you. And of course, I gotta say, Chapelmon, where can we find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at Chapelmon pretty much everywhere on the internet. I'm Chapelmon_Aragon on Twitch and Twitter, but I primarily hang out on YouTube. That's Chapelmon.
And of course, we are continuing tomorrow morning and probably tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, morning and evening, more Dark Souls 3. I have that one boss that I kill. That came. Anyway, I'm gonna kill it, and we're a variety streamer. We play many other games. If you have an idea for games that we should play on the RPG, tactical, strategic aspects, just let me know. And of course, we do the podcast every week, either on Wednesdays or Thursdays. And if you have any ideas of which things you want to discuss on the podcast, just drop a line. We can also have a Discord available. Just ask, and we will put it on the chat. So thank you everybody for coming, and as always, we'll see you when we see you. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.